Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here at the Raptors Digest. Riker, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 111-108 win against the Charlotte Hornets. I'm messing up the intro because it's been so long since we've got a win, Riker. The Raptors are now undefeated in their past game. It's completely amazing. What a time to be a Raptors fan. And what are your thoughts on this win against the Charlotte Hornets, Riker?
What a stretch of basketball, Ben. You brought it, you crossed the T, dotted the I, undefeated. What a stretch. What a stretch. Ben, I said it, this is take 2 of the podcast. I said it last time in round 1. This game, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't nice to look at. If it was a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you wouldn't be bringing it home to meet your parents, but we got through it. They closed the game for once, and it was on the shoulders of one young Trey Boucher. Then it begs the question, should we be giving him Pascal Siakam's contract?
You've been on this wave of converting Pascal Siakam's max contract to Chris Boucher, and honestly, no Pascal slander, because honestly, he was good tonight despite a little struggles from the field shooting, but Chris Boucher has been an absolute beast for this team tonight. 25 points, 10 rebounds. I don't have the blocks in front of me, but 8 of 12 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line. How many blocks?
1 or 2. I don't know.
1 or 2, okay.
I was confident in it. Yeah.
In 1 or 2, but this guy, whether it's finishing around the rim, whether it's hitting threes consistently, whether it's getting stops on the defensive end, he is everywhere on the court. And for a guy that obviously we had questions about coming into the season, whether he could be even a rotation piece on a consistent basis for this squad, he has come out and just ran with this opportunity, especially with Aaron Baines and Alex Len really struggling for this Toronto Raptors team. And I know a lot of people are calling for it. They want Chris Boucher to be a starter. Aaron Baines got the start tonight, but Chris Boucher, even though he's not the starter right now, he's getting all of those important minutes at the center position. I think it's only a matter of time before Nurse just says, we can't sack the first 5 minutes of a game. We got to put him in there, but I'm happy Nurse is giving him the opportunity, and he's just been remarkable, Riker.
Ben, let me hit you with the stats. Let me hit you with the most absurd stats you've ever heard in your life. Top 3 in the league in blocks, Ben. Top 3 behind only Rudy Gobert, missed the $200 million man, and who was the other one? Miles Turner. But with 80 less minutes played, and he's still third in the league in blocks. It seems like every other game he puts up 7 blocks. He just swats everything. He's got those long arms. He had a stare down on LaMelo Ball today. And Ben, he's shooting 3 points. He's shooting almost 4 threes a game, shooting 47% from 3. We have the hybrid of Rudy Gobert and Steph Curry out there to lead this Raptors team. And he's out there doing it. He's out there having fun, hustling. This guy, he's something special, Ben. And I'm glad that he's emerging like he is, because the Raptors needed him in this one to close out this game. The lead kept slipping down and down and down.
Yeah, we needed every single play that this guy made for us tonight, and I like the comparison of a mix of Rudy Gobert and Steph Curry. I think that's a fair hybrid to call Chris Boucher right now, because he's been an absolute monster, Riker. And this is the question, I guess, we had going into this year, is could he be reliable? And now, I know it's a small sample size just to start off this season, but I think Boucher has shown he's a reliable contributor for this team, even though he's had some ups and downs to start off the year, specifically against the Philadelphia 76ers when he looked completely shook against Dwight Howard. But are you on the same side as me, saying that Chris Boucher is a guy that we can lock in, and obviously there's a question mark right now whether we'll make the playoffs or not, but I think everyone following this team closely knows we're at least better than last in the Eastern Conference. But if we make the playoffs, obviously Boucher wasn't playable in the bubble during the postseason, but are you confident having him as our 5 going into a series against the Celtics, against maybe not the Sixers, but any other team in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, probably any team that plays a small ball lineup. Now, what was disappointing, this one's a tough one, because without Gordon Hayward, this is not a fantastic team. This is not a great Charlotte team. I was excited to see LaMelo Ball in action. I think he's the runaway rookie of the year, and he put up some good numbers. I think he had 11 assists, 14 points, like pretty good shooting as well. But end of the day, they had a very small lineup to close it out. It did allow Chris Boucher to get in there, get a lot of offensive rebounds, to do a lot of good things, but you raised the point in the 76ers series where he's scared against Dwight Howard, how is he going to start against Joel Embiid, right? How is he going to fare against trying to shut down the freight train that is Giannis Antetokounmpo when he starts charging into the lane? You know, there's matchups out there that benefit Chris Boucher, but it's not against true bigs. He'd almost be better served as a four or that spark guy coming off the bench, man.
Yeah, the one point to bring up though is his interior defense looks much improved even from the start of the season, because you mentioned the blocks, but his positioning, he's almost bred from that same tree of Marc Gasol this season, where he's in the right places, he's got the verticality going. He obviously doesn't have the old man size that Marc Gasol had in the lane there, but he's getting his chest in front whether he's blocking the shot or not, and he's actually looking like a true big man defender out there, even though he's of slighter frame. So real lot of positives to take away from Chris Boucher over the past few games. I'm confident he'll be able to carry this going forward. Maybe not 25 points a night, but certainly a guy that's a contributor in this, and a top 5 guy for our Toronto Raptors roster, and deserving of the starting unit, whether he's actually starting or not. But we threw out a couple names there, and you mentioned the guy that he should potentially switch contracts with, Pascal Siakam. He's obviously gotten a lot of slander to start off this season, but he sort of continued his revitalization on this Toronto Raptors team tonight. Only 15.7 rebounds, not the greatest shooting from the field, but did a lot of good things out there tonight, Riker.
He did a lot of great things out there. Yeah, me deferring or transferring the contract is not to say Pascal doesn't deserve it. It's just Chris Boucher has elevated his game to a point. It's almost like he's the person that, you know, is the guy that has the $30 million a year contract on this team. But Pascal, he's been on a tear the last five games. And I thought that this one would come down to him having a shot to win or lose for a third straight game. That's just the way it looked. I thought maybe Charlotte, Terry Rozier is going to hit that three, tied up, and then Pascal can have a no pressure attempt to win it at the buzzer. Wasn't the case this time around. The only thing that I would say, Ben, is Pascal, he started really well, but then he came away from his game. The reason that he was having success at in the first half of this game, he started shooting way more threes. He looked pretty passive in the fourth. If he keeps the pressure on, especially against how small that team was, he should have been able to have his way this game. And I thought the same with actually a lot of the Raptors in that closing lineup, except for Boucher. They came away from their aggressiveness, which surprised me.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this Toronto Raptors team this season is the Raptors have a habit of really running their offense, getting in the lane, making great passes, making great plays, and the driving kicks and the threes get opened up, and then we get out to a big lead, and then they sort of just start settling for end of the shot clock, contested threes, dribble pull-ups, all those sorts of things. Fred VanVleet randomly takes these long mid-range jumpers at times. I don't really know how the analytics work out on that, but I completely agree with you. And I saw a stat on Reddit. I don't have the credit or whatever. I'm just going off by memory. But over the past 5 games, if you look at the difference in the shot chart for Pascal Siakam inside, it's all inside the paint and a few from behind the three right now, whereas the start of the season, when everyone was critiquing him and judging him for his poor performance, they were all mostly outside the three, not a lot of stuff inside the lane. So I completely agree with you. Pascal, especially when things aren't going, because some nights he looks really good from three, which is a positive thing, but when things aren't going like they were tonight, keep attacking, because that's what he was doing in the first half. And he had a stretch in the fourth quarter, which was actually really nice, where he made a couple of really nice drives, then he got in a little rhythm and then hit a corner three. So that's what Pascal Siakam needs to be doing, and I think he's making a lot of good decisions. His passing also looks a lot better. He had 4 assists tonight, but over the past few games, the assists have been really high, especially compared to the rest of his career. So the heads up, the decision making is getting better. It's going to be a process with Pascal Siakam, but it's nice to see him coming back true to form.
Yeah, I don't know if a process is the way that we want to label a guy who's already been paid $120 million, Ben. That's a little bit worrying, a little bit concerning, but that's it. It's a weird season. I'm glad that there's no fans at the Tampa Arena anymore, because we don't need a bunch of Charlotte fans pulling up to the Raptors home game, because that's what would have happened. So thankfully they pulled out a win. Yeah. It's been infrequent this season, and it wasn't a bad game. It was really good through 3 quarters. It took them 5 minutes to score in the opening of the fourth, but they got it done for once. Hopefully they can build on the momentum. I believe we play Charlotte again Saturday. I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, so hopefully we can get a couple back-to-back wins against the Hornets. Definitely doable. And we're 3-8 right now in the season. But we talked about a few of our main guys before we swing into the segments. There's a few players we got to bring up because off the bench, Yuta Watanabe and Stanley Johnson, they really provided, I thought, really good minutes for this team in their, Utah with his 15 minutes, Stanley Johnson with his 21. Hit a couple threes. The defense was absolutely phenomenal from those guys. So what were your thoughts on them just sort of coming in, filling that role? Terrence Davis got no minutes tonight, so they sort of filled that position. So I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I'm looking for Terrence Davis on the stat sheet, and I realize he's actually as listed as the sixth man, and he got more minutes than Norm again. What parallel universe do we live in, Ben? 20
Stanley
minutes
Johnson, not Terrence Davis.
for Stanley Johnson,
Yeah.
19 minutes for Norm. That's crazy. Stanley Johnson, who we are considering renaming the Damari Carroll Gold Star Award after, is getting more minutes than Norm. But you know what? He did play pretty good. He had 2 for 3 from 3. His defense is looking a lot better. I think he's more engaged with the team. He's kind of settling down. We know his frame, like it's an NBA player frame. Like Stanley Johnson looks built to play basketball. It's just his IQ, his sort of energy. It gets ahead of him at times. And Yuta Watanabe, however you pronounce it, he looked really good out there tonight too. He was one of the better plus minuses of the team. I thought he gave solid minutes, and he's a long guy. He's a big guy. So if he can figure out how to stay in front of his, the person that he's guarding when he's playing defense, I think he could be a serviceable player.
Yeah, I really liked his hustle. There was a possession there where the ball was on the floor. He wasn't even close to it, but he looked like that Dennis Rodman meme where they're floating in the air. It looked like he did that. He froze and got that basketball. So, yeah, shout out Utah. Shout out those guys off the bench. Fred VanVleet, he had an all-right performance tonight. 17 points, 8 assists, but inefficient from the field. 6 of 20, had an off-night shooting. Him and Siakam were off, which is probably a good sign for this team that we still got the W despite the fact those shots weren't going in. Kyle Lowry did Kyle Lowry things. 16 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds. Just Kyle Lowry makes winning plays. And the fact that everyone else was sort of making the right decisions when Kyle Lowry's on the court were just a whole lot better. The only real times the Hornets went on a run were when Kyle Lowry was on the bench. So people saying trade Kyle Lowry, our writer Josh, people saying that we should trade Kyle Lowry, that is not the case if we want any chance at making a playoff run this year. I know a lot of people have lost hope, but you and I think, are confident we can maybe bounce back, or definitely bounce back, but we'll see if we differ on how deep we could potentially run. Norman Powell, 11 points, had a good stretch there, but also was off from the field tonight. Any other takeaways before we swing into the segments?
I wanted to say that LaMelo Ball got a taste of Kyle Lowry's booty tonight, but then I realized how that sounds. But he went in for a steal in the full court, and then he pushed into Kyle Lowry and got absolutely thrown back. And it just the size.
You're stealing these segment plays, bro.
True, but I would just be memeing myself. Anyways, we'll swing into the segments. I'll say it again. I'll say this.
We'll build it up. But tonight, the spicy play of the day. And honestly, there was a few plays in this game that really got it going. I mentioned the Siakam sort of game-changing moments at the end of this one. Boucher scoring in the clutch. Anything you had in mind, Riker?
Boucher scoring in the clutch. Was there good dunks? Norman Powell had a dunk.
Yeah, he had a nice athletic finish when he was on that scoring run to sort of end that off. PJ Washington, I gotta give credit to the Hornets. PJ Washington had a nasty yam. I don't even know who it was on, but underneath the net, it was one of our bigger guys.
Was that PJ Washington or Miles Bridges though? Put back.
One of those guys, but it was a proper back scratcher. It was the most scratched back I've ever seen on a back scratcher. In basketball
was adequately
history.
Scratched. There would be no itch after that scratch.
Removing itches with that spicy play. Rarely we give it to the other team, but the Raptors won. We're in a giving mood, and that was a really cool play to see. But there's not all plays can be the spicy play of the day, and some just make you say, "Oh geez." And I think there were equally as many "oh geez" plays of the game tonight, Riker. So I'll let you sound off on what you started with.
One of my favorite quotes. Oh, I'm not even going to remember the quote. There was no fouls called in this one, Ben. I don't know if there was a single foul called in the third quarter. Very few in the fourth. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Jack said, "Are they letting them call their own fouls out here?" I thought that was great. This one was wild. I think the refs had plans and they needed to get to them. They had something else going on in
No.
Tampa after they wanted this game finished. It was rough and tumble. It looked like literally an LA Fitness scrim game. But you know what? The pace was fast. I didn't hate it, Ben.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun to watch with all those hits and stuff happening. Obviously, LaMelo Ball, as you mentioned, got absolutely decked one possession. One time, Kyle Lowry, he went out, he contested a shot, and then he ended up right underneath the net and smoked his face right off the stanchion. I was a bit scared to see that, but obviously Kyle Lowry got up because he's taking those face shots and just ready. It only amps him up even more, but yeah, the Chris Boucher plays, I think they all just kind of make you say OGs when he's dunking on people, getting those swats, because you don't really expect it, be it with his slighter frame. So definitely a lot of OGs tonight. But finally, the infamous, the one, the only DeMare Carroll Gold Star Award, Riker. And you alluded to this one as well earlier. It's to everyone with the Stanley Johnson slander, to you specifically with the Stanley Johnson slander, because this guy, I sort of been more on the wave of him this season after we saw him play a little bit. You weren't convinced, but he's looking like a guy that's making positive plays out there. And the three, he hit a couple threes tonight too. I know he had one classic Stanley Johnson moment where he hit a three the possession before and got real excited, so dribbled as fast as he could down the court and threw it out of bounds. But other than that play, he's been really sound. He had that interview prior to this game. I'm not sure if you saw that sort of that audio clip, that visual, where the one of the Raptors reporters asked him if there's a sort of a tightrope walk he has to do with playing within a system in the limited minutes, but also trying to show everything he can do, show that he can do more. And he's like, no, I don't want to do more. I don't want to show I can do more. I just want to do what the coach says. I love to hear that from Stanley because it shows he's got the right mental approach to this game, and it's paying off on the floor, Riker.
Yeah, he's maturing. I don't know how old Stanley Johnson is, but he reminds me of a kid when he goes out there and plays in garbage minutes. He tries to do too much, but he's been playing within the system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. I'm not going to give it to myself, Ben. I can't do that unless there's extraordinary circumstances. So I'm going to just pass that along to Norman Powell, who's been kind of outperformed by Stanley Johnson in the sense that he's obviously given less minutes than him. So Norman Powell, who he's been back and forth in the starting lineup, Nick Nurse is still trying to figure out what Norman Powell's role is going to be. Where can he provide value for this team? If he's even, useful to be playing, just because of his inconsistency makes it pretty difficult. But I think Norman Powell will figure it out. Hopefully, he has just so much talent. He just needs to put it all together, man.
I picked him up on my fantasy team, Riker, so I really need him to start hitting some shots.
Not a good showing for you tonight.
It's people dropped him, and I was like, I'm confident Norm will bounce back. Still waiting for that confidence to pay off, but I trust it will because he's a shooter. He's a guy that shot 40% from three last season. That stuff doesn't really go away usually. So I think the 1-for-8 performances, he goes through slumps at times. It's probably just a slump to start off the season. I'm confident he'll bounce back because we don't really have any other options right now with Terrence Davis being inconsistent, Matt Thomas being sent to a void on the deep bench where he's playing behind everyone right now. Paul Watson hasn't even got an opportunity. So I think those guys, I don't really see them overtaking Norman Powell just yet, but it'll be interesting to see what Nick Nurse does. It'll be interesting to see if we can carry those momentum forward, but you guys are the best to make this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all the cool stuff. Check out the TikTok, check out the website, and shout out to everyone that's been DMing us to get on our next podcast, because Riker decided to make it not comments like we kind of talked about before, but send us a DM if you're trying to get on the pod. We want to hear your takes, and we've been flooded with noties, DMs, and all that the past day or so. So definitely, we're reading them all. They're all getting read at some point, whether you're making this next podcast or not. But they're getting checked out. Definitely send it over there. Definitely follow us on the IG. It's been sort of blowing up recently with the IG Reels, the TikToks getting posted over there. So we'd really appreciate the support. You have any last words, Riker?
And there are literally hundreds of DMs right now. We're way over our heads. But if I didn't like your comment or respond to you, you got to let me know because I'm making that effort. There's probably only going to be 3 that we'll shout out to. So you're pretty lucky if you make the cut for the next video, but there's some excitement about that one, Ben. We're all on a high here. We're just enjoying life. The Raptors are back in the W column. So it can't get any better than this.
If you don't get a response, our IGs have been posted on like right in front of us. You DM us directly, get that ratio up right
Hundreds of DMs I need to sort through, Ben.
Word. Anyways, you guys the
what
best.
did I do? Cheers.